Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, the only show that looks at global chaos, economic disaster, political drama, and a polar vortex big enough to freeze the smile off a brass possum statue, and says, well dang, that's Tuesday. Today is January 16th, 2026, and America is juggling so much nonsense that even Waffle House would post a sign on the door saying, "We close till y'all calm down." So let's dive into the six-alarm circus fire we call the news. Segment 1. Trump's 10% credit card cap and the great banking tantrum. So the president has decided that credit card interest rates ought to have a speed limit. 10%, no more, no less. Kind of like telling your cousin Earl he's allowed one Bud Light per hour at Thanksgiving. Except Earl ignores it, and so will the banks. Trump says Americans are getting ripped off paying 20 to 30%, and he wants to slap a big ol' price control sticker on the whole industry. The banks responded by fainting violently on a couch they bought with overdraft fees. They said this would devastate the credit market, which is funny because I'm pretty sure the credit market was already devastated the last time I checked my balance. The banking industry claims nobody with a credit score below Heavenly Angel will get approved anymore, and will all be forced to borrow money from your sketchy cousin who does payday loans out of his shed. And then you got Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley agreeing with Trump, which proves the horseshoe theory is real. If you go far enough left and right, you meet in the middle holding a sign that says, "We hate Visa." Honestly, watching Washington agree on anything is so rare that NASA should classify it as a new astronomical event. Segment 2. Canada breaks up with America, starts dating China. Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada has gone full "you don't own me" mode and inked a massive trade deal with Beijing. China lowered tariffs on Canadian seafood and canola seeds, and in exchange, Canada will let in 49,000 Chinese electric cars a year at a nice, friendly 6.1%. Meanwhile, America is over here slapping a 100% tariff on those same cars, like a jealous ex screaming, "If I can't have you, nobody can!" Trump shockingly said Carney's deal is okay, which is diplomatic code for "I didn't read it, but it sounds like a deal, so whatever." But the U.S. trade folks are freaking out because Chinese EVs are spy cars. And apparently the real concern is Canada opening a backdoor in the North American supply chain. Meanwhile, Ontario's Doug Ford is raging like someone stole his poutine, accusing Carney of selling out Canadian auto workers. It's like watching a family fight at Christmas dinner. Everyone keeps shouting, "I love you," but also "shut up." And Carney wants to double non-US exports by 2035, which is Canada speak for "we are tired of being America's little brother that gets grounded when you make bad choices." Segment 3. Greenland, Iceland, and the Arctic soap opera no one asked for. So America's Arctic diplomacy has gone from "we'd like to buy your island" to "support us or we tariff your ancestors." Trump said he might slap tariffs on countries that don't go along with the U.S. wanting Greenland, because nothing says ally like threatening to tax somebody into friendship. Then his ambassador nominee for Iceland, Billy Long, joked that Iceland might become the 52nd state, with him as the governor. Iceland responded by gathering pitchforks, torches, and thousands of petition signatures faster than you can say, "Please stop threatening to annex us. We have puffins." Congress had to send a delegation to Greenland and Denmark just to explain, "Our bad, he talks like this sometimes." Honestly, at this point, America is treating the Arctic like it's a yard sale where everything has a price tag, and Denmark's over here clutching Greenland like, "Not for sale, not even for store credit." Segment 4. Bankruptcy Battle Royale, Saks Global versus Amazon in a fight for retail survival. Saks Global has collapsed into bankruptcy so hard that even their mannequins filed a complaint. Amazon pumped $475 million into Saks to help it swallow Neiman Marcus, and now Amazon is screaming that Saks spent the money like a toddler in a candy store, which, to be fair, is what luxury retail usually is. Amazon says Saks blew through cash, torched budgets, skipped payments, and now wants to shove Amazon's equity stake into the garbage disposal. Saks says, "Well, we need $1.75 billion in financing or we'll die." The bankruptcy judge approved $400 million just to keep the doors open, which is basically the court equivalent of splashing water on somebody who fainted. Meanwhile, Amazon is discovering what every redneck contractor knows. If you front someone nearly $500 million and then say, "Now don't do nothing stupid," you better have a backup plan. And as if that wasn't enough excitement, the banks are merging, fintech companies are raising money like it's Mardi Gras, and Nvidia and Broadcom continue printing money like they're running the economy out of a Best Buy parking lot. Segment 5. Science, medicine, robots, prions, and teen brains behaving like NASCAR. While politicians argue over who owns which ice block in the Arctic, scientists are out here changing the world. Johnson & Johnson's Caplyta nearly doubled depression remission rates, which is huge news for anyone who's ever stared at their bills and thought, "Maybe I'll just lie down on the floor forever." Novartis is working on the first targeted therapy for Sjogren's disease, which would be groundbreaking. The NIH is prepping trials for prion diseases, which means we're possibly one step closer to stopping some of the rarest and scariest illnesses on Earth. Over in robotics, Columbia engineers made a robot that watches itself in a mirror to learn how to move its lips, which is either adorable or the origin story of Skynet Jr. Meanwhile, neuroscientists discovered teen brains don't just prune old connections. They add dense new clusters, which explains why teenagers can remember the exact lyrics to 811 TikTok audios, but forget to close the refrigerator door. NASA brought Crew 11 home safely. We learned hydrogen cyanide might have helped spark life, and the James Webb Telescope found weird red dots that turned out to be baby black holes just minding their business in deep space. Amazing what you can learn when Congress isn't involved. Segment 6. The polar vortex wants us all to freeze like a Walmart burrito. A massive disruption of the polar vortex has sent Arctic air barreling into the US, and meteorologists are sounding the alarm like somebody found out their ex is back in town. Temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below normal. Wind chills that'll freeze a possum in mid-complaint. Snow from the Appalachians to the Great Lakes. And a third wave coming that sounds less like weather and more like the Bible. Chicago is on high alert. Alabama is warning folks about ice on bridges. Colorado has opened shelters, and 40 million Americans are about to discover what it feels like to be a decorative ice sculpture. And while all this is happening, the world continues arguing about credit cards, spy cars, bankrupt fashion giants, Arctic real estate, and teenagers' brain connections. Nature's basically tapping the microphone saying, "Hey y'all, maybe worry about me for a second." In conclusion, January 16, 2026 isn't just a day. It's a cosmic sampler platter of financial drama, trade breakups, frozen landscapes, medical miracles, and diplomatic chaos. We've got banks crying, Canada dating China, Iceland filing emotional restraining orders, Amazon suing a department store, scientists inventing lip-syncing robots, and a polar vortex demanding back child support. If this is how the year is starting, buckle up, Buttercup, because the rest of 2026 is likely to look like somebody shook the Etch-A sketch of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, stay warm, stay weird, and stay poorly educated.